Hi, this is Sopna, working as Assistant Professor in Vagdevi College of Engineering in the Department of Computer Science and Engineering. In this session, I am going to continue Week 3 programs on inheritance. In the previous segment, we have discussed so far how multi-level and multiple inheritance can be used. Now I am going to continue with the type 4 inheritance, that is hierarchical inheritance. Derivation of several classes from single base class is known as hierarchical inheritance. Class B and class C is inherited from class A. Therefore, all the properties of class A are inherited into class B and class C. The base class will include all the features that are common to the subclasses. A subclass can be constructed by inheriting the properties of the base class. Algorithm for hierarchical inheritance. In this algorithm, we will be discussing several steps which are involved by executing a program on hierarchical inheritance. In this algorithm, first 3 steps of this algorithm is to create the class and define variables and defining read student member function to get student details. In the next step, we will be defining member function to display student details. In step 5, we will be creating derived class internal 1. In step 6, we will be defining member function, that is read marks function to read the marks. In the next step, we will be defining member function to display marks detail. In step 8, we will be creating derived class internal 2. In step 9, we will be defining member function, that is read marks function to read the marks. In the next step, we will be defining member function to display marks detail. In step 11, we create object for internal 1 class and we use these objects to call member function of read student, read marks, show marks and show student function. In next step, we create object for internal 2 class and we use these objects to call member function of read student, read marks, show student, show marks function. Now let's see a program to demonstrate on hierarchical inheritance. The first statement is a hash include iostream.h. The C++ program begins with hash include iostream.h. This directive causes preprocessor to add the content of the iostream file to the program. This is a declaration of class with a named student. The statement read function which takes value from user and assign to name and roll number variable. The statement show student function display the value in name and roll number. At this statement, it establishes relationship between student and internal 1 class. Now, this internal 1 class is a subclass to student class. The statement read marks function reads the values from keyboard and assign to M1 and M2 variable by using cin object. This function displays the value in M1 and M2 by using cout object. At this statement, it establishes a link between internal 2 and student class. Here, the internal 1 and internal 2 is inherited from student class. Therefore, all the properties of student class is inherited into internal 1 and internal 2 classes. The read marks function gets a values and assigned to M1 and M2 variables. The statement show marks function displays the values in M1 and M2. In the main, obj1 object is created to internal 1 class as internal 1 is inherited from student class. obj1 object is allocated with the memory of student and internal 1 as shown in the memory. When obj2 object is created to internal 2 class, it also allocated with the memory of student and internal 2 classes. This statement calls read member function present in student class, which reads the values for name and roll number. In the next line, this statement reads M1 and M2 into obj1 object. This statement reads name and roll number into obj2 object. It reads M1 and M2 into obj2 object. This statement prints the values of name and roll number of obj1 object. It prints the values of M1 and M2 of obj1 object. This statement prints name and roll number of obj2 object. And it prints the values of M1 and M2 of obj2 object. Here we can clearly understand that how derived class object is accessing base class function. obj1 calls read student function which reads the values for name and roll numbers into obj1 object. obj1 dot read marks reads the values for M1 and M2 into obj1 object. obj2 calls read student function which reads value for name and roll number into obj2 object. And it reads value for M1 and M2 into obj2 object. And these two statements print name and roll number marks M1 and M2 of obj1 object. And the next two statements prints name, roll number and M1, M2 of obj2 object. Then next we go to compilation and execution part of this program. To compile the code, click on Turbo C++ compiler icon. Here I have already written the code on my Turbo screen window. So I am going to compile the code. Click on compiler menu to compile the code. Here my code is compiled successfully. Then press enter. To run the code, click on run menu and select run option. Here I am giving the input values, that is name, roll number, marks. So these are the values that are stored in object obj1. The name, roll number, marks. It is stored in object 2, and this is the data which is displayed on the monitor. Then next we have type 5 inheritance, that is hybrid inheritance. We can implement this inheritance similar to the other inheritance. So, the combination of two or more forms of inheritance is known as hybrid inheritance. The properties of class A is inherited into class B, and class D is inherited from class B and class C. Therefore, all the features of class B and class C are inherited into class D. The class D will have both the multi-level inheritance and multiple inheritance. Algorithm for hybrid inheritance. In this algorithm, we will be discussing several steps which are involved by executing a program on hybrid inheritance. In this algorithm, first two steps of this algorithm is to create a class and declare variables. In step 3, defining read member function to get the student details. In step 4, we will be creating derived class marks from student class. In next step, defining get marks member function to get the marks details. In step 6, we will be creating other class sports marks. In step 7, we will be defining read marks member function to read the marks. In next step, we will be creating derived class result from marks and sports marks class. In step 9, we will be defining calculate member function to find out the total and average. In next step, defining display member function to display the data. In next step, we create object for result class and we use these objects to call the member functions of read, get marks function, read marks function, calculate function and display function. Now, let's see a program to demonstrate on hybrid inheritance. This statement is a predefined library function which contains cin cout object. So, this statement must include into the program to perform input-output operation. This is a declaration of class with named student. The read function which takes value from keyboard using cin object and assign it to name and roll number variable. In the next statement, at this statement, it establishes a link between marks and student class. This marks class is a subclass which derives from student class. The get marks function get marks from keyboard and by using cin object and assign to m1, m2 variable. The get marks function read the marks from keyboard by using cin object and assign to m1 and m2 variables. This is a declaration of another class with a named marks. The function read marks read the value for sp variable by using cin object. And the next, at this statement, class result is inherited from both marks and sports marks class. Therefore, the members m1 and m2 and sp both the classes are inherited into result class. The result class will have both the multi-level and multiple inheritance. This calculate method calculates total and average of marks, and the statement display member function displays the result of total and average on the monitor using cout object. The execution starts from the main method. When obj object is created in main function, the memory of student, marks, sports and result class are allocated as shown in the memory. Using derived class object obj, we can call the member functions of base and derived classes. The statement obj.read calls the read member function present in student class, which reads the value for name and roll number. This statement reads M1 and M2 of marks class. And in the next line, this statement reads SP of sport marks class. And in the next line, this statement calls the calculate member function in result class where it calculates total and average. And in the next statement, obj.display function will display the values of all the variables, that is name, roll number, total and average. Here we can clearly understand that how derived class object is accessing base class function. The statement obj.read function reads name and roll number from the keyboard and assign to the variables name and roll number. The statement read marks from keyboard and assign to M1 and M2 variable. This statement calculates total and average, and this statement will display the values of all the variables. Then we go to the compilation and execution part of this program. Click on Turbo C++ compiler. Here I have already written the code on my workspace. So I am going to compile the code. Click on compiler menu to compile the code. Here the code is compiled successfully. Then press enter. Click on run menu to run the code. Here I am giving the input values, that is name, roll number, marks. This is the output that is displayed on the monitor. To exit this window, click on File menu and select Quit option. Thank you.